Hello there, welcome back to the channel, or welcome to my channel if this is the first time you've been here. This is another unmasking video, but with a little twist this time. I did one of these a few weeks back, sort of an unexpected sort of thing. I had to unmask a very complicated splintered aircraft. Pretty much the entire aircraft was covered in masking tape. I'll leave a link up here so you can watch it. Fair warning though, it's not safe for work, lots of swearing. This one we're going to keep nice and clean. I'm going to use this opportunity to, when I unmask this beast, which you'll see in a full paint video in the future, I'm just going to use this opportunity to have a chat. I had a sort of an unregulated rant at the last unmasking video, whereas this one I've got a topic to talk about. And you can switch off now if you don't want to hear about this topic, but I'm going to tackle the whole idea of, is modeling art? But let's just get started. So I have to unmask everything because I need to paint the nozzle here and some of these surfaces and the flaps, and the centerpiece I'm going to be doing in a metal, and of course the nose has to be red. So I'm just going to take all the masking tape off and we'll see if my efforts have come to fruition. And what always happens is I always get overspray and I always have little mistakes, so I'll try not to swear when these eventuate. But let's start talking about modeling as art. Well, it's a question that's been asked quite a bit. If you listen to some modeling podcasts, I have quite a few that I like to listen to. Plastic Posse podcast is a really nice, relaxing one to listen to. They sometimes talk about stuff like this, but not all the time. You've got the guys at On the Bench here in Australia, Ian, Dave and Julian. They're fantastic. I met them for real. I met Dave and Ian at the Queensland Model Hobbies Expo a few weekends ago. They've sometimes touched on that subject. The chap who's done it the most is Chris Meddings over at the Model Philosopher, which is my favourite sort of deep dive modelling podcast. Fantastic to listen to if you really just want to zone out and think about big picture stuff. I just listened to his last episode, which was really good, and which has given me the spurn me on to talk about this one finally, because I have been wanting to talk about it for a long time. Because he had Harry on from, I can't remember his last name, from Cosmotronics. Now he is a perfect example of, is modelling art, because what he does, if you've never seen his stuff, and it's just amazing, it really transcends, the whole concept of, is what we do, is it actually an art form? Is modeling itself, because what the Cosmotronic stuff isn't technically a model per se. There are some model pieces in there. He does some kit bashes and so forth, but a lot of the stuff I think he uses sort of recycling, plastic bottles and so forth. Oh, that's not too bad. I thought there's some overspray there. And yeah, so I'd really recommend you go listen to that podcast, because I think Chris does a great job of making some really good questions and getting some good answers out of his guests. So I'm going to turn the question around, and I'm just going to say first, we have to question, what is modelling? Let's just forget about asking, is modelling art? Well, what's modelling? What is it to you? What does that mean? Because if you were to strike up a conversation with someone on the street and I ask, what do you do for a hobby? And you say, well, I build scale models. What does that actually mean? I mean, look, I'll give you a confession. My first hobby that I ever did was with my dad. This is when I was in my teens. This is before he died. He died quite early of lung cancer. He was only about 50 or so. So I'm coming up to the age where he died. I survived my cancer, thank God. He didn't. But yeah, he introduced me to remote control ship models. And they were completely scratch built. We couldn't afford kits, although I think he had one or two. He really liked steam engine stuff, because he was a fitter and turner, boiler maker, by trade. He actually made his own steam engines and all sort of stuff. But we just scratch built. It was really, really good fun out of balsa, just straight balsa wood and other pieces of wood. And you'd build the whole thing. We'd, do destroyers or tugboats or things like that. And yeah, is that the same as this? Is modelling, is that just a different type of modelling, or is it a different hobby altogether? I've always asked the question, bugger, there's a bit of Bit of an underspray in there. Well, I think I can get away with that when I do the metal. Do some better taping next time, Chris. So yeah, we really have to ask, well, what is modelling? Because let's kill two birds with one stone here and just jump forward. Here's a thought experiment I had when I was driving my wife to work this morning. Going to pick her up, this afternoon. I was like, okay, if you put 100 Australian guys, 100 Australian modelers, and there's a reason why I'm saying Australian, in a room, and you ask the question, hey guys, hey mates, don't say guys, is modelling art? I reckon one, maybe two might put their hand up and say, yeah, that sounds about fair. Modelling can be art. You put 100 Eastern European chaps, you get some Slovakian, Czech, Ukrainians, in a room, and you say, is modelling art? Half of them, I reckon, will put their hand up. And it's not just a cultural thing, it's also the sort of subject matter, because most of those Eastern Europeans, and most Europeans actually, modelling for them is more figure painting. And that's where you get that sort of, oh, that looks nice. Ooh, I like that. Don't you love that? Most of them do the figure painting, and that's become one of the biggest growth areas of scale modelling in recent years is miniature painting, both historical and fantasy. And that's sort of, to me, more sort of transcends into the art world, because all these miniature painters use techniques that artists have used, just starting with basic color theory and contrast, if you look, and then that's spilled over into the scale model world in terms of, Miguel Jimenez, the Spanish school with the high contrast methods, and what are the other sort of methods they use? Azimuth lighting and forced perspective, and that's all that sort of stuff to make it more and more hyper real. And that's really what's happened in the last 20, 30, 40 years, whatever you want to call it, where people have gone, hang on, is modelling actually not just, slapping a kit together, putting some paint on and the decals and calling it a day. So to me, we really do have to define what is modelling, what does it actually entail, because that's how you generate the next question, the next part of that question. What's art? What really is art? And this is why there is such an overlap between where people seem to get confused between scale modelling and art. And I can point that down to a simple definition, and that's called craftsmanship. And I'll explain in a second. I think I'm going off track here with my thoughts, but the second part of this sort of equation is, what's art? Because one thing we've all got our opinions on what art really is. My opinion, and for what it's worth, and I'm willing to have this opinion change, and it is subjective. And again, I'm opinionated about this. I really don't like modern art or postmodern art. I think that's not really art. I think it's basically just a massive scam to money launder nearly worthless pieces of rubbish that anybody can do. Because in my view, and maybe this is a snobbish view, maybe it's an opinionated view, I don't know, but it's because I put value on craftsmanship that art to me has to have three pillars to stand on. 1, 2, 3. Okay, all have equal weight, more or less, but you've got to have all three. And if you don't have all three, then you're not really talking art. You're talking more craft, or you're talking more sort of, I don't know, a hobbyist, I guess you could say, approach. What are those three things? I think they're all equally valid, and I think they all have to be expressed properly. The first one is, and this goes back to the craftsmanship, is you've got to have mastery of skill. You've got to be able to do what to have, you've got to be recognized as being, hey, that guy knows how to do X in whatever medium. Now, let's use an example of a furniture builder, chair maker, someone who makes, nowadays it'd be called bespoke, but back in the old day, you'd go to a furniture company and they would make you They'll craft you some, some furniture, and, it's a practical object, but there would be a lot of attention and mastery of detail of getting that right, getting the balance right, the right timbers, designing it correctly, the whole lot. That you, at the end of the process of that thing getting built, you can really admire it and go, oh, wow, that's a really nice work of craftsmanship, because the builder himself has gone through an apprenticeship. He's learnt from other masters, other craftsmen, how to do things, how to use different materials, different methods. He's experimented with stuff. He's worked out his own techniques, but he's mastered the basics, the advanced, and then the basics, the intermediate, and then the advanced skills. So he can produce these fantastic items that have a value, that have, it's not a mass-produced sort of piece of junk. It's not something, that's just made to a price point. It's actually a piece of craftsmanship, and it will last a long time. And you could use that analogy for a lot of different things, but it also applies to the art world, and it applies to a hobby world. That really someone made the analogy once that all art, everything's art. So, a 6-year-old with some crayons draws a dragon, and you whack it onto your fridge, and that's a piece of art. Now, actually it is, because I'll talk about that, and there's the third sort of pillar, then your tripod, but it isn't, because there's no mastery of art there. I mean, anybody can do it. It's like some of these modern pieces of so-called art, which is like, I wouldn't say like Jackson Pollock is one of them. That there's other guys who do, they'll paint a wall in one colour, or they'll throw some paint and splatters on a wall, or it'll be a half-rotten banana on a stand. It's like, if you can do it, if you, the layman, can look at a piece of so-called art and go, yeah, I reckon I could do that, without any bragging or hubris, you just like, no, I think I could do that, then that's not mastery of skill, is it? That's just showmanship. That's just sort of style over substance. So to me, I still believe that if you're going to have value in this world, if you're going to measure things as being of worth, then there has to be some mastery of skill. You have to have gone through the process. Now, I'll give you an example. Look at Salvador Dali. Look at some of his early stuff. He went through the process. He learnt how to paint like the masters. Some of his oil paintings and landscapes are bloody fantastic. They're beautiful, really, really well done. Not super original, but he was doing that process as an artist. He was learning. Oh, I've got a bit of paint pull up there, which isn't too bad, because that's where the light's going to go. That's not too bad. Do that a bit slower next time, Chris. We're almost finished. But then, so he mastered everything. He worked out how to do all the stuff. He was taught. He did the process. He did the hard yards. He learned all his colour theory. He learned his composition. He learned all that sort of stuff. And then he went psycho chicken, for want of a better word, and he delved into the second pillar. Look, I've unmasked it. Now we can just talk. Look at all that. I got a free roll of masking tape when I attended the local show. I'm making good use of it. This little experimental little plane that I'm doing. Oh, have I even told you what plane it is? It's an Academy Hookbine. It's a Focke-Wulf TA-183. Okay, it's an experimental plane. I've just painted that in RLM 8182. So the second pillar is originality. To be considered art, you've got to come up with some sort of original concept, or build upon somebody else's concept and put your own spin on it, something unique. And, in the hobby world, you'll see people build ad nauseum all the time, a tiger tank, and they do a fantastic job. Great craftsmanship. Fantastic. Looks like several other tiger tanks you've seen done before, but really executed well. And then you'll have 3 German soldiers standing in front, or standing on the rear deck of said tiger tank, pointing at a map, or pointing off in the distance, or pointing at each other. How many times have we seen this? How many times have you seen that, the factory-built Jagd Tiger in red primer paint with all the chalk marks on it? How many times have you seen, a Messerschmitt 109, or say P47? There you go, P47 with the engine cowls all off, so the engine's exposed. It's on a Marston, temporary landing mat. and all the panels are just happen to be perfectly aligned on the ground, so you can see the exposed engine, and then in the corner is an oil drum. We've seen it. It's lovely. It's well done. I'm not knocking it. I've done something similar. I've done some float planes and that sort of configuration. Very, not unique at all. But, that's not really pushing the boundaries, is it? It's not, for example, I've got this thing about in flight. If you see an aircraft in flight, you're already 1 in 100. You're already in the 1% club. There was a particular Japanese display I saw recently, or very recent years. It was a Junkers Ju-88 in 1/32 scale, and instead of building the whole aircraft, it was a wedge. It was just the front cockpit, and it was exposed, and you could see the wounded crew members in there. And then off in the distance, forced perspective, was a 1/72 scale Hurricane that had been shooting at it. That's unique. That's original. That's a concept. There's I'm trying to remember Rick Lawler's famous diorama of the Jewish concentration camp victim, and he's piling up all the. He's outside a railway carriage that's obviously been dehumanized with all the cargo taken off and taken to the gas camps and gas chambers, and he's cleaning up all their clothes. That's, nobody needs to do that again, because that's brilliant. It's just, it just really shows the artistic flair there of a really somber sort of thing. So that's the second thing. You really got to have some sort of originality to it. And this is where, the chap from Cosmotronics was explaining about some of the gallery owners. They sort of look down upon, the reason they look down upon scale modeling is they're like, well, it comes in a box. I'm looking at a few boxes I've got in the corner here, and you take the model out of the box, you build it. Now, you might put an original spin on it. You might paint it black and white, like I've done my Spitfire, which is an idea I copied from somebody else, but all great art, you copy from someone, you put your own spin on it. Mine's going to be different from Fanchluben. He did a Corsair and a Mustang. I'm doing a Spitfire. No big difference there, but what I'm doing different is in flight, and I'm posing it in front of a black and white photograph, so it looks like it's coming out at you. Something a little bit different. Not quite art, but not quite the same as everybody else. So the point I'm trying to make here is, like I said, so the art world doesn't look at scale modeling as art, because anybody can build something out of a box. Now, there's the scratch builders who might disagree with that, and I would agree with them too, that, if you, like I said, that old hobby of mine of just building something from scratch, and then if you create something unique from that, well, yeah, you're getting really close to art, aren't you? And this now leads into my third criteria, which is, so we've talked in the first one, you got to master the skill. You got to be a master of the craft of actually doing the thing, working in the medium, whatever it is, painting or sculpting or what have you. The second one is, it's got to be an original idea, or it's got to be your unique take on a concept. And the third one is, and this is where it does get subjective, but I think it's vitally important, is it needs to evoke emotion. And I would say there's two variables here, either emotion from the viewer, the person who experiences it for the first time, looking at the finished thing going, and has a guttural, emotional, visceral reaction, whether it be one of joy, one of pain or sorrow, or exaltation, whatever you want to call it. When you listen to a piece, this is how you define good music too, by the way. You can apply the same bloody criteria, these three criteria to music. So you can get rid of your Taylor Swifts and all your other Dua Lipas and all that sort of guys, and go straight down the list and go, okay, boom, Beethoven, Fifth Symphony, boom, original, mastercraft, and evokes the emotion. Okay, anyone plays that piece of music to me, I have to sit down and listen to the whole thing. Have a little cry at the end as well. So the thing that makes art is it has to move you. It has to give you that emotion, and the emotion can be any type. It can be glee, it can be fear, it can be horror, it can be whatever. There was, I forgot his name, apologise, there was a chap who posted a Danish F-16 in flight in orange, beautiful colours. I saw that and immediately took a big intake of breath and went, oh, yeah, that's fantastic, love it. That's emotion, okay? So there's the emotion of an external person watching or looking or observing something for the first time, and then something that's, I think, what's more important is, does it evoke something from the artist himself, the hobbyist, the craftsman, whatever you want to call him? Now, I'm in the midst of preparing to make a model. It is a model, but it could transcend into an artwork, I guess. And I'm making it for myself. It's actually for my son, but it's for myself. I might share it with you if it comes off, if it does well. It's a vignette of a father and son. It's something I've never done before, something I really want to try. And to me, the whole idea of it makes me really proud and makes me really happy. And I really hope that my son enjoys it when he sees it for the first time, and I hope he keeps it. But to me, what's the most important thing is the emotion it gives me. So I'm hoping that I can turn that into a piece of art, because it is unique, it's different. I've never seen anybody do. So it's very simple, the concept's simple. And once I show it to you, I think a lot of people might run with it. Because it's something I haven't discovered anywhere in the modelling world. Nobody's done it quite. I found one person did something similar. I'm being very cryptic here for a reason. I don't want somebody to steal my thunder and go off, because got to keep these original ideas to yourself. Anyway, so we've roundabout gone to the question. We've asked the question: is modelling art? Well, what's modelling first, and then what's art? And now we've got to round out to the third thing: is can modelling be art? And yeah, I think it can. I think there's a small percentage of it that can, not all of it, because for most of us this is just a hobby, and just a hobby means just that. It's a great hobby. It's nothing to look down or sneer at, or to, what's this look like underneath? Looks pretty good. Plywood doors for the nose. I was better start masking that off, I guess. So yeah, it's just a hobby is not a nasty term. It's just, it is what it is. It's a hobby. It's great. It's something to, like I'm doing right now. I've had a tough day today. Having to deal with anxious kids, with parents, and with work, and all that sort of stuff. I've had car troubles, both our cars having troubles. The list goes on, and I come down here and I get to do this for a couple of hours before I go to bed, and I feel better for it. That's the most important thing. I'm going to have to cut that in half, aren't I? But can you turn your hobby into art? Yeah, why not? Why not? If you have that bent and you want to make a statement, I'll reference, I've lost my knife, I don't know where it is. Oh, there it is. If you want to make a statement, if you want to, create a reaction, like just poking yourself in the finger with a knife, Jesus, excuse my French. Look at Chris Meddings. Chris Meddings is an avid defender of the Ukrainians, and rightly so, a good moral cause. And I've done my bit as well, what I can. But he's created dioramas, and he did that really great bust of Putin, who looks like he's dipped in blood, because he literally is. He's a megalomaniacal asshole, for want of a better word. What is that stuff? Bit of fluff. You can use modelling to make a statement, to make art, to evoke an emotion, and why not? But if you just want to build a tiger tank or build a Academy hook-bind thingy and paint it in weird colours for no reason, why not either? I'm gonna have to cut that in half again. So yeah, roundabout answer to the question: can modelling be art? Yes, it can. It all depends on what you want to do. Not all modelling is art. Not all art is art either, in my opinion. I think we've devalued a lot of art by labelling, nonsense as art. But that's my personal opinion. Oops, better not scratch that. Yeah. So anyway, I don't know how long I've been talking for, but I hope you found that interesting. I'm going to mask this off and hopefully I'm going to paint this nice and red tonight, so that'll look good, and then paint the metal bits and I can get on. I'm supposed to be doing my Spitfire at the moment, but I really wanted to just paint some bloody colours. It's a problem when you paint something black and white. Everything's just grey. It gets a bit boring after time. So yeah, anyway, hope you enjoy that. If you think I should talk about more subjects while I'm doing this, hit me up or leave a comment, or tell me what you think, or tell me if you think I'm full of it. That's all fine. I'm a big boy. I can take these sort of hits. That's a really bad masking job. I'm going to stop here and call it a night, I think, or call it a day on the video at least. I'll catch you next time. Thanks.